Hi, my name is Ashwant and this is my submission for the second edition of the DevSpaces Hackathon. In the previous hackathon, I talked about 3 blockers to adoption and I had a solution for the first problem called Dev Launcher. Today, I want to solve the other 2 problems I mentioned. I've been examining my own usage of DevSpaces and the good news is I have been running deployment commands from DevSpaces. But I still do my development work in WebStorm. So basically, I would make changes to my code in WebStorm, push these changes to GitHub, pull the commit on DevSpaces, and then run any suitable deployment commands on the Cloud IDE. For this hackathon, I wanted to find a way to make this workflow easier. This is how I came up with DevSync. DevSync is a VS Code extension that enables DevSpaces to handle auto deployment. I had 3 objectives in mind when building DevSync. I believe the adoption of any good tool depends on how seamless the switch is from existing workflows. And DevSpaces really is a disruptive innovation that makes significant improvements on the way development is done traditionally. With DevSync, I wanted to make this switch easier for developers no matter their local setup. Another key thing I noticed is that the decision to run commands depends on which files you've changed. For example, if you've changed your database's schema.sql file, in this case, you want to drop your tables and create them with the new schema. If you've made changes to schema.graphql file, you want to run the CodeGen script and deploy your changes to AppSync. I wanted to find a way to offload this logic or thought process to DevSync so that we can focus more on the development of the feature itself. The last objective is that the solution needs to be highly configurable, meaning any team with any process should be able to leverage this tool. So, how does it work? First, you install the DevSync extension in your workspace and set up the configuration logic to run your commands. Then, you continue to develop features on your local IDE. Once you're done, you push the commit to GitHub, and DevSync will automatically poll GitHub at predefined intervals and pull the latest commit if something was pushed. And based on our configuration settings, DevSync will then start running your commands in sequence. To demonstrate DevSync, I have created a test repository which has a gitpod.yaml file with my extension already loaded. Once you have this extension, you can control when DevSync runs using the start or stop command. You can configure this extension by going to your user preferences, and in the DevSync section, you have the ability to add your email, interval, and the run logic. The email field ensures that only commits from your email will trigger DevSync to run any command automatically. The interval is how frequent you want DevSync to poll GitHub for the latest commits. The logic object is where the magic happens. To demo this, I will start DevSync, and on my WebStorm, I have made changes to deploy/package.json and deploy/backend.ts. When I push this commit, DevSync will automatically pull it and run deploy install first. Note that the order of commands will be preserved from your configuration, and the same command will never be run twice. Now, if you've specified the manual override option, then DevSync will not run the command automatically. It will prompt the user and wait for user input. Once I say yes, it will run the destroy command, then deploy, and then data seed. And if you note, the deploy install was only run one time. In the configuration, you can also specify the skip if option. For example, if there were changes to database schema, I want to drop and create my table. But if my backend was also destroyed and deployed, then the new database already has the latest schema. So in this case, it is inefficient to run drop and create again. So when DevSync asks if I want to destroy and deploy, and I say yes, then the database drop and create commands will be skipped. But if I say no, then database drop and create will be run. You can also specify an option called parallel. This is basically anything you want to run on a separate terminal and in parallel. Here I have changes to backend stack, app.component, and app.spec. Now, based on our configuration, DevSync will first run the deploy sequence, and after that completes, it will open frontend test and frontend start in parallel windows. The last point I want to specify is that each file can only trigger one match. So even though our app.spec matches this pattern as well as this pattern, DevSync will just run frontend test and not frontend start because as per the order, this is our first match. This is useful because when you're pushing spec changes, it makes sense that you're only looking to run your tests. DevSync is extensible and you can add more options based on your use case. With this new workflow, you write code, push code, and then start writing your next bit of code and let DevSync worry about what to do with your previous commit. Thank you.